Cross-posted. Which of us is a bigger asshole? This is so long. I'm sorry, but I would like an outside perspective and to get this off my chest. Me 42F. Yes, we are too old for this kind of childish, but here we go. I met my best friend. We will call her Cindy, 52F, around 2009. At the time I was married to my first husband, and we had a toddler. Cindy and I met through a mutual friend that passed away about a year later. When Cindy and I initially met each other, we thought we were cool but did not instantly start hanging out. It was not until one night I was missing our mutual friend that I tracked her down and we decided to hang out in her memory. It was a crazy friendship after that. We would hang out here and there. She was single and 10 years older than me, so her kids were almost adults. She has been a teen mom that married incredibly young and then widowed, while I was married with a small child, but we would hang out when we could. I loved her free spirit, that she always had a smile on her face regardless of the situation, and tried to see the bright side of everything. Even in the most difficult situations, she always seemed to be positive. She was extroverted and everyone loved her. As for me, parenting a small child and a man-child often had me stressed. I didn't make friends easily and didn't know how to relax. In 2012 I divorced. Our kids stayed with me primarily, visiting the ex every other weekend. Those first few months were an adjustment, having 6 days a month kid-free. It was lonely at first, then I learned to appreciate the break. During my transition from married to single, Cindy, who said she never wanted anything serious again, moved from single to relationship. I was happy if she was happy, and no reason why we couldn't still hang out. But every time we would make plans the night of, I couldn't get a hold of her. She wouldn't answer the phone, wouldn't answer text messages, wasn't at home, gone. Then a few weeks later she would call me and say, "Hey, I'm sorry, my boyfriend and I did such and such." Cool, no problem. What really hurt was the first New Year's Eve after my divorce that I could actually go out and have fun with friends. My kid was at their father's house. We made plans and Cindy ghosted me. I want to go ahead for the record and say I'm not adding this to justify what comes later or reduce my fault in the loss of friendship, but to show that we were best friends, but not the best friends that spoke every day or hung out constantly. But she was the one I could be 100 points real with and no judgment. And when we did get together or speak, it was like there was no gap in time. After a while, she and the guy ended up breaking up, and she was at my doorstep. We talked all the time. We hung out on my kid-free weekends, having adventures and making memories I hope to never forget. During that time I would date guys, but they would never last. She told me she was done. That last guy had burned her from wanting relationship. One of our nights, she let it slip that the reason why she used to dodge me was because her ex-boyfriend did not like me and did not want her hanging out with someone who was single. I told her then if you'd have just been honest I would have understood it. I would have made other plans instead of sitting at home thinking that we were hanging out that night. When I'm with my children, I'm straight-laced. I don't cuss, I don't drink, I didn't introduce my kid to strange men like many of the single women I knew did. I'm not knocking on parents that do, but it was not how I wanted to raise my kids. But when I was child-free, I would occasionally party. I went to bars, made some wild memories with Cindy that I won't go into detail for fear anyone figures out that this is me lol. So we worked our full-time jobs, took care of our responsibilities, and had fun when I was kid-free. While all of this was fun, this was not the long-term life I wanted. I just had some freedom and responsibly went crazy. During our friendship, I made Cindy aware multiple times while I acted like that with her. I never exposed my child to that. I was very clear with the example that I set on my child. It's honestly why I tended to keep them separate. A few times I had tried to take my child to dinner with Cindy, only for Cindy to want to talk about our every other weekend exploits in front of the kid. Or would drop F-bombs. Each time I would go, "Hey, hey, little ears," and she would go, "Oh, sorry." While I have a sailor's vocabulary, again, I do not talk like that in front of kids and usually remove my kid from the situation if someone else chooses to use their sentence enhancers. After this repeated a few times, I stopped mixing the two and accepted that Cindy was the single part of my life, not the mom part of my life. And I don't say that to mean she was not important to me. Honestly, she was what I needed. My overly responsible personality needed a friend that I could talk to judgment-free, have fun with, relax with, since I was so uptight while I was on mom duty. I appreciate those times I was with her and could just be responsibly irresponsible. My ex-husband was an alcoholic, so I knew while I was having fun going out with random guys, hanging in bars, Unlikely I would find my long-term partner. Usually one of the first things I would discuss would be how often that person drank, and if it was more than social drinking, I didn't even continue for fear of a repeat. 2016 I met my husband. And it was on like Donkey Kong. Ever seen the movie Practical Magic where Sally makes the wish for the characteristics in a guy she thinks would not exist, so she'll never have her heart broken? It was like that. He had qualities and features that were not usual, and that I had always found incredibly attractive. Being a single parent, I of course did not immediately introduce this man to my child. He worked swing shifts, so it did make spending time together difficult. He also lived an hour away. His days off started to fall in time with my kid-free weekends, so those weekends I started spending with him. This meant I was not spending as much time with Cindy. At first Cindy was fine with it. She knew I wanted a relationship with someone that completed me, while she was not interested in that, and she was happy for me. My husband does not drink. He does not smoke, he does not go to bars, he did not party. While he was a few years younger than me, he was extremely responsible and had a plan for his life. And it just so happened his plan was very similar to mine. When I first met him, though, I did not realize these things, and I would tell him some of the less risque stories of my and Cindy's adventures. While most people found them humorous, it turns out he did not. He eventually grew to dislike her from my stories. They did meet one time. He is very introverted and she is very extroverted, so they did not have much conversation. The only thing they had in common was me. I also got the vibe that he did not necessarily like that side of me, and I could not imagine my life without this man. So I realized I could not mix her and him. Which was fine. Again, Cindy had no small children, no interest in settling down, enjoyed her single life, so she wasn't looking for couples date nights. After 2 years of dating, we got married. And I moved an hour away from Cindy. This, of course, reduced the amount of time we would spend together even more. But we would still try to get together for dinner, or talk a few times a month about the things going on in our lives. We supported each other from afar. We both changed jobs, received promotions, your basic life events. We celebrate them virtually. Another 2 years and my husband and I have another child. At this time, COVID hits. Everyone is staying away from everyone. I slip into a depression because I'm overworked at my job after just receiving promotion, socialization is zero, and some postpartum. So Cindy and I see each other even less. But still we call a few times a month, celebrate each other's victories, have those moments where we hate on somebody together through the phone. When the pandemic pretty much comes to an end, we start trying to rekindle our face-to-face friendship. My husband worked an odd schedule, so it was difficult to make plans when we had no sitters. But I would occasionally score an evening we could get together. Often Cindy would cancel it last minute, or she would call me, wanting me to do some activity with her that was literally that day or the next day, knowing I had no way to find a sitter in that amount of time. So I would always have to beg off. Cindy was a spontaneous person, while I did not have that luxury. I would need to plan outings in advance. About a year ago, I received a phone call from her stating that she accepted that we were no longer best friends, that we have transitioned to acquaintances. She stated that I was not doing enough to save this friendship. I told her I was sorry, that unfortunately the times I would make plans she would cancel, and the events that she would invite me to I would not have time to get a sitter. She made the claim that she thought she was going to be involved in my second child's life as the crazy aunt, which I was confused about since she wasn't involved in my first child's life due to her inability to PG herself. I let her know I had no control over the pandemic, and my child had not met certain family members due to the situation. A month later she calls me and tells me she's sorry, that she overreacted. She was just upset and feeling left out. I told her I was sorry too, and would try to do better about making plans with her. And I did. I would call in advance, trying to schedule a dinner date or movie night with beers and gossip, but she would always cancel. Not long after that, I received another promotion, which meant workload doubled. I was extremely stressed out and it was causing problems with my marriage. So friendships were even further on the back burner. At this point we were no longer seeing each other at all, but we did still speak once a month. This past summer I tried to call her and received the automated message that her phone number had been disconnected. I was shocked. She would very often change her phone number due to providing it to strange guys in the bar, but would always update me with her new number. This time she didn't. I tried really hard to remember the last conversation she and I had, to try to gauge how long it has been since we spoke. Honestly, with the stress that I was under at work and home, I could not remember. We were still friends on Facebook, but I didn't reach out. I took this to mean that she had finally decided our friendship was over. And at the time I was having some real problems at work and home and just did not have the mental capacity. A few months ago I was finally put out of my misery and terminated from my job that I'd loved for 7 years. I was unbelievably heartbroken, even though I knew it would save my marriage. Of course I could not be sad around my husband, because he hated the job and was glad I was no longer stressed out by the place. I really wanted to talk to Cindy, because she knew how much I loved that place, how hard I worked, and how I had put that place before myself and my family. And she would have mourned with me, even though it was for the best. But she had changed her number without telling me, so I didn't reach out. This week I received a phone call from an unknown number. Since I've been applying for positions, I thought maybe it was a return call for a job, so I answered. And it was a woman stating Cindy had given her my number, recommending she call me to see if I was hiring at my company. I let her know that I was no longer employed with that company. I could not help her. When I lost my job, I did not post on social media because it was an obvious embarrassment for me, so only my immediate family knows. I'm not sure who the lady was and what her connection is to Cindy. I wondered if I would all of a sudden hear from Cindy, if the woman told her I don't work there anymore. Because obviously Cindy still has my phone number. For a little bit I wondered how I would have react if she called me, and wanted to know what happened. Would I tell her? Would I call her out on the fact she changed her phone number without telling me, only to contact me after a stranger gave her the tea? So while I know that I am the asshole in this story, am I the only asshole in this situation? Or does Cindy deserve a little bit of blame too?